Hello and good evening, everyone. Welcome to our program tonight. I guess I should also probably say a good morning and good afternoon to those of you who might be joining us from other parts of the country and the world. My name is Colleen Miltenberg. I'm an Assistant Director of Admissions here at Duke, and I will also be serving as the moderator for tonight's panel. I would like to just start with a huge congratulations to each one of you on your acceptance to Duke. It's an accomplishment that you should be very proud of, and we here are thrilled to welcome you into the Blue Devil family. This evening's program is going to be focused on academics here at Duke. We will be hearing from three different panelists who are going to cover the curriculum and first-year experience in both our Trinity College of Arts and Sciences, as well as our Pratt School of Engineering. And then we will also be getting information on our advising program here at Duke. Just a few things for the beginning here. Feel free to ask questions in the Q&A. I do have some fabulous colleagues in the background helping to answer those. And we will also be doing questions live at the end of our formal program. The one thing I do want to just note is when you're submitting your questions in the Q&A, if you could type in your first and last name, just in the event that we need to follow up on your question. A Vimeo account is not required in order to participate in that. Okay, so with that, I am going to start with our first panelist, Dr. Deb Reisinger, and she is speaking to you all today in her role as Dean of Undergraduate Education in the Trinity College of Arts and Sciences. Dean Reisinger received her bachelor's in French literature and East Asian language and culture from the University of Kansas and holds a master's and PhD in French literature and the support of programs in cultural studies from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. She is also a professor here in the practice of Romance Studies and the director of our language outreach initiatives here at Duke. Dean Reisinger teaches courses in service learning, global displacement, and French for specific purposes, including global health, public policy, and marketing. Her current research focuses on transformative learning and community-based pedagogies. So with that, I will turn the floor over to Dean Reisinger.
Welcome, everyone. It's great to have you here. Thanks so much for coming, and congratulations on your arrival at Duke. We can't wait to see you this fall. I'm going to start by giving some general remarks about Trinity College, and then we'll turn it over to hear about Pratt and then to hear about our advising for both of the programs. So for those of you who are entering into Trinity or considering entering into Trinity, I just want to welcome you again. Trinity is really the heart of Duke's undergraduate education, and I hope Ben's going to be okay with me saying that. Pratt is also its own space, but we represent 80% of Duke's undergraduates here in Trinity. We have over 700 faculty across 3 divisions: social sciences, the arts and humanities, and the natural sciences. And our faculty, and 750 faculty actually, not only engage in cutting edge research here at Duke, and I mean really cutting edge, but they're in the classroom with our undergraduates. These faculty are here at Duke because they want to do both things, and that explains our 7-to-1 student-faculty ratio here. We are a truly research institution with a liberal arts mission. Trinity has 63 majors, and 61 minors, as well as 20 certificate programs. And as if that's not enough, we have an option for students to design their own major in the college. Students can also combine up to 3 academic pathways, and they don't have to be related. I had coffee this afternoon with a graduating senior who was majoring in global health and French, and he did a certificate program in innovation and entrepreneurship. So we have a really flexible curriculum that allows students to explore diverse disciplines and create new ways of combining them together, which is really exciting. So we have a new curriculum. You may have heard about this, and it's really exciting. We're in the process of implementing it right now. We'll be rolling it out this fall. This is Duke's first new curriculum in 25 years, and the key feature of it is that it is values-driven. And while the values that undergird our curriculum are based on research that we did in educational and in developmental psychology, They are most importantly based on our experience with students. And I sat on that committee for the last 2 years in our 8:30 a.m. meetings every Friday, and I can attest to that. We did so much research, but what we really did was we talked to students and we talked to faculty about what we want to see in our students going forward. And what we want is for students to see connections across their disciplines. There are few places as interdisciplinary as Duke, but we also want them to build personal connections and lasting relationships with their peers and also with their professors. Trinity has really cool programs like Flunch, where students can invite their teachers to lunch for free, and we provide funds for faculty to do the same. Second, if you're here tonight, it's probably because you've done all the right things in high school. Your students have done all the right things in high school. They took the hardest classes and the most grueling extracurriculars and so on. But when you get here at Duke, and I hope you choose to come here, we really want you to mess up a little bit. We want you to come to us, your deans, your administrators, your faculty, your advisors, not with answers, but with questions. We want you to cultivate the kind of curiosity to engage with really big ideas in new ways and from distinct disciplinary perspectives. And so, thirdly and relatedly, is humility, the other value that we really hope undergirds all of the experiences that our students engage in at Duke. In order to engage with difference, we have to understand the limits of our own knowledge and the skills to engage respectively with that difference and with one another. And so, because of that, our curriculum is based in the liberal arts. It is designed to provide students with a solid understanding of what humans need to function in the world, to communicate with and understand diverse peoples and perspectives, to experience and understand the arts, to think openly and critically about the world in which we live, and to understand how to explore, quantify, measure, and eventually, hopefully, maybe change the world around us. So, all of our Trinity students participate in a first year experience, and this is brand new. We have two programs: Focus, which you'll hear more about this week, and which is a long-standing program and a phenomenal program. It's residential, so students live together and take classes together in their first semester. And then the Constellations program, which is new, and it's a year-long non-residential program. So students live in different dorms and maybe sometimes the same dorms. But no matter which program students choose, all students in Trinity will form cohorts that take 3 interconnected courses that explore a common topic through multiple perspectives. The topics in both programs focus on big issues of today, so students have the opportunity to consider them historically and also through ethical perspectives that include many fields of expertise. We have a focus cluster on climate change, for instance, and it is not just for scientists. This is a problem that psychologists, historians, writers, statisticians, artists, teachers, philosophers, and so on must also consider. And so we have faculty in those departments teaching courses related to those questions. We have another theme in the Constellations called Brain, Body, and Movement, and that includes courses in neuroscience, dance, biology, and literature. Students in those clusters spend time together in the classroom, but also outside of the classroom. They have shared meals with their professors, they go on field trips and site visits, and so on. So while Trinity's college curriculum is designed to provide students with a world-class education, which of course we do, student learning extends well beyond the classroom. We have a multitude of opportunities for students to engage in high-touch and high-impact experiences. Over 60% of our students participate in faculty-mentored research, and not just in the STEM fields. We also offer a growing number of PLUS programs where undergraduates can work alongside graduate students and faculty to explore data-driven approaches to interdisciplinary challenges. Some of those are in the summer. We also have programs throughout the academic year. 74% of our Duke students take at least one course in service learning, where they pursue community-engaged work around key social issues. We also have opportunities in Bass Connections, and that combines research and community engagement, and a growing number of our students are involved in those, sometimes for multiple semesters. And finally, over half of our students spend a semester or a summer abroad, and sometimes they do both. We have study away and we have also study abroad programs. So many of those are here in the United States, and a larger number of those are abroad. We also have 40 programs led by our faculty. I know my favorite way is to connect with students in the south of France in July, and I'm preparing for that program right now. So that's all I've got for Trinity at the moment, and I am really happy to answer any questions that you all have after we hear from my colleagues. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Dean Reisinger. That is very helpful information, and hopefully everybody, I do see some questions about it, but we're going to move on to our next speaker, and then we will come back to some of those questions. So our next panelist is Dr. Ben Cook. Ben is one of the academic deans within our Pratt School of Engineering here at Duke. His background is in math, but he has served as an instructor in our first year design course as well within the School of Engineering. So with that, I will let Ben go ahead and speak now.
How's it going? I'm one of the 3 academic deans in the Pratt School of Engineering here at Duke. I want to talk a bit about the Pratt undergraduate curriculum and also about how we support students at Pratt. So all ABET accredited engineering schools require about a year of math and natural sciences and about a year and a half or 3 semesters of engineering courses. So that's about 5/8 of your undergraduate experience for an accredited engineering program is going to be either sciences or engineering classes, which is a big chunk of the undergraduate experience in engineering. Because of the prerequisite structure, because math courses are required for engineering courses and physics courses are required for engineering courses, your first year experience is a lot of math, physics, and engineering. We have 2 engineering, one engineering first year design course and an engineering computing class that are both taken typically in the first semester. And alongside of that, you're taking math and chemistry, and then in the spring, physics and writing and engineering specific course. And the way we support students in that first year is a number of ways. We have 3 academic deans. Each of us meet with about a third of the incoming class over Zoom in the summer before students get here, both to kind of help students figure out the registration process, but also start to get to know students before students encounter academic difficulty or hard classes at Duke. We also started a 360 coaching program, which advises first-year students. All first-year students are matched to a Pratt faculty member that is matched based on their section of engineering design in the fall. So faculty members either are teaching those courses or serving as technical mentors for teams of students working on projects in that course. And we also have student e-teamers that are also assigned to those with those first year 360 coaches. We also have a lot of other ways to support students. There's a lot of student support. Students are, like I said, serving on the e-team. The engineering student government has a strong interest in supporting students academically. They offer Zoom advising over the summer before students get here and during registration periods. We're in the middle of a 3-week registration period for fall semester right now, which is one of the busiest times of my year. And we have a lot of drop-in advising. A lot of our students serve as undergraduate TAs, both for our first year classes, but also within the major. And then the first year orientation, all Pratt students participate in the orientation, one of the orientation groups. And a lot of Pratt students participate in Pratt clubs or student groups. We started the 360 coaching program 4 years ago in 2021. And this year's senior class is the first class that had that type of academic support. And that class, we're graduating the largest class that we've had in at least 10 years. We have over 325 graduates this spring, and we typically accept around 350 students or matriculate around 350 students. And so I also want to answer questions. We are also modifying our kind of Trinity requirements based on the new Trinity curriculum this year. and hoping Pratt students can participate in some of the exciting pieces of the new Trinity curriculum. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much, Ben. That was so helpful. And then finally, our last panelist tonight is Dr. Madhavi Strasburger, and she is the director of the Academic Advising Center, overseeing academic advising services provided to Trinity College students from the time that they matriculate at Duke until they declare their major by the end of their sophomore year. She earned a Bachelor of Science in Biomedical Engineering from Duke, a Master's in Higher Education from the Harvard Graduate School of Education, and a doctorate in Educational Leadership and Policy from Vanderbilt. Madhavi has crafted a career in advancing student success initiatives in higher education, including the Academic Guides at Duke, which is an advising initiative that seeks to integrate academic and emotional well-being support within the fabric of our West Campus residential life. So with that, I will let you go ahead and take it away.
Hello, everyone. It is a delight to join you guys this evening. As Colleen beautifully introduced, my name is Madhavi Strasburger, proud Pratt Star alum, as well as a proud Duke employee nowadays. And so it's a delight to say good morning and good afternoon and good evening to all y'all. And so what I'll do is sort of stitch together some of the things that Dean Reisinger and Dr. Cook have shared about the Pratt and Trinity experiences. Since, as you can tell, there is just so much that you can really take advantage of at Duke. But it might feel a little overwhelming to do it by yourself. And just know that you are not alone through your Duke experience. And so once you decide to Duke, which I hopefully anticipate that you will, just know from the moment of matriculation that you are in good hands from that moment until graduation. And so for those of you navigating this experience, as well as your families with you, just know that you are part of an ecosystem that you are in the center of during your time here. And so before you declare your major, and so different institutions do it different ways. And so here at Duke University, once you enter a college, be it Trinity or Pratt, you're undeclared. You may tell your friends during orientation that I am BME, I am classics, I am whatever. Just know you're not. There's a moment of declaration that will happen. For our Pratt stars, and again, our students coming into the Pratt School of Engineering, you will declare at the end of your first year. For Trinity College students, you have the opportunity to declare at the end of your first year, but the deadline is actually spring break of your sophomore years. In both cases, we want you to have the opportunity to explore. We want you to really get a sense of what are all the pathways available to you here at Duke and give you the chance to take classes in those places and spaces. Again, you're not alone in this. So if you're in Trinity College, you will have a college advisor that will be assigned to you at the point of matriculation, and you will engage with that person over the summer through the point of major declaration to ensure that you first figure out the building blocks of college, if you will, figuring out what are your Trinity first year experiences, what are classes that you want to take to your next endeavors in your major, your minor, or your certificate. And the same in the parallel in the Pratt School of Engineering, whereas Dr. Cook shared, you will meet with your academic dean over the summer, and then you will be assigned a 360 coach, a faculty advisor, who will be with you through your first year through that point of declaration. In both schools, once you declare your major, you will be assigned a faculty or departmental advisor who will be with you from that point until you graduate. Just know these are just a handful of people who are with you. Again, you are part of a whole ecosystem, and you'll see this little wheel of advising, if you will, that we hope captures some, definitely not all of the people in your ecosystem as you navigate your time in college. So again, you'll have a college advisor or a 360 coach, as I noted. You'll have a major advisor, be it in your department or your double major or certificate. Again, through the natural opportunity of getting to know your faculty and your classroom endeavors, you'll really get to know a lot of faculty who you'll build into your advising network along the way. For those of our students who are on this call who have pre-professional endeavors, be it you want to engage in the health professions, you want to go to law school, you want to go to business school, there are also colleagues here on campus who will support you in those endeavors along the way. We also have peer advisors, as Dr. Cook shared. We have peer success we have E-team advisors. So these are engineering students who are in the Pratt School of Engineering. We also have peer success leaders through the Office of Undergraduate Education who support you. In Trinity College, we have our Trinity ambassadors. So again, a lot of peer-to-peer support as you're making your decisions about what you want to do during your time here at Duke. Also within my office in the Academic Advising Center, we also have specialized advisors called the Directors of Academic Engagement who specialize in particular disciplinary areas so that you have someone who's with you either in your first year or your senior year, either in Trinity or in Pratt, who help you really get to know what does it mean to be in a particular discipline, but also what are the co-curricular opportunities in that. So let's say you want to major in classics, I'll use that as my example of the day, and you're trying to really figure out what does research look like in there? What does study away look like in there? And we have some really amazing colleagues who really help you sort of discern what is authentic to you in those academic and co-curricular opportunities. In all of this, you will have one individual in both schools who span your entire time from matriculation to graduation, which are academic deans. For example, Dean Cook is an example of that. In Trinity, we have 14 excellent colleagues who are in the advising network for our students. And these colleagues really ensure that students are on track towards graduation and really help students navigate sort of exceptional moments in their academic journeys. And so again, you really are not alone in your Duke experience. And there are people who are going to be along with you to help you really reflect, to ensure that you think critically, to ensure that you reflect and pick an academic pathway that's authentic to yourself. You'll see on the next slide here that, again, this wheel fails to encompass everyone. We have a lot of resources. There's so many people you can connect with. And so, again, I could spend all day, if not the next 36 minutes together, which I will not. I'll spend like maybe 2 more minutes to map out that there are other academic resources here, such as our colleagues in the Academic Resource Center, who are there to help level up your learning, if you will, as you navigate into college. We have colleagues who are in the residential spaces on West Campus, and that's a different conversation as we talk about where you live on campus. But again, know that there are professionals tied to your residential experiences that will help you in your academic support and experiences. Study away is a really popular option here at Duke University. As Dean Reisinger shared, she does an amazing experience in the south of France, and it is one of a plethora of options that you can engage in. And we have great colleagues in our global education office that will help you even figure out where to start or help you answer specific questions about programs you're interested in. We have an amazing career center. Again, we very kindly ask you not to immediately go into the career center on your first day of campus. We want you to figure out how the classroom works, how does campus work, but these colleagues are with you essentially from the start of your first year onwards. And again, we have so many colleagues in the Pratt School of Engineering and Trinity who will help you figure out how to make the most of Duke. And in that journey, it's helping you figure out for yourself, what does that mean for your Duke journey? So again, I could spend all day discussing the resources, but I really hope your takeaway is that you are not alone as you figure out what is important to you and how do you navigate your time at Duke.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you all being here tonight. And this is actually perfect because now we have about a half an hour left. I did also forget to note in the beginning, and I apologize because I've seen a couple of questions, but this evening's event is being recorded and it will be available on our YouTube website in a couple of days. So if any of you missed something or if you have to leave, please know that you will be able to come back and find all of this at a later date. So the first question that we could maybe start with, and I think Dean Reisinger, you're probably the best one to answer this, but there's been a couple of questions about specific freshman requirements, sort of specific with respect to the focus and constellation programs. Like, are there freshman requirements? And then as a little bit of a follow-up to that, when do students sort of choose constellations versus focus? Are those applications open now for them to take a look at? We've gotten several questions about that.
Yeah, thanks. Those are great questions. The first year experience is a requirement for all Trinity students. So all Trinity students will do either Focus or Constellations. Focus is currently open for applications, and those have been open since February, and they will stay open until, I believe, the end of May. That information is on the website, which I believe is focus.duke.edu. And if a student does not want to participate in focus, they will be placed into a constellation and matched with a constellation that they choose. So we have a selection process that students will engage in if they just select not to do focus. So focus is distinct from constellations in that it is a living learning relationship that students have. So they live in the same residence hall and they take the courses together. And those courses are in the fall, so 2 in the fall, and then they take a Writing 120 course in the spring. Students in constellations take 1 course in their constellation in the fall, 1 course in the constellation in the spring, and then the Writing 120 is either in the fall or in the spring. So that means that all Trinity students take 3 required courses. 1 of them is the same, Writing 120, and then they have an additional 5 courses that they can choose to take across their year. So there's lots of selection, and then of course there's selection within focus and constellations as well.
Okay, wonderful. And then for you, Ben, do you think you could talk just a little bit about what a first year might look like for a Pratt student who chooses to take part in focus? We've had some questions specifically from Pratt students on here wondering about the focus program.
One of the focus clusters, the energy cluster, has engineering 101, first year design and communication as part of the focus. So engineers that participate in that focus program have a very similar first year experience to engineers who don't do focus. The other focus clusters don't have any of the engineering classes, and potentially all 8 of your first year classes are kind of laid out in the engineering curriculum. So figuring out how to fit the focus in and shift other courses around is something that we work with students in the summer when we're meeting about registration to help them figure out how to fit the engineering courses in around focus.
Wonderful. Okay, and then we've also, I think perhaps Dr. Mathavi, you might be able to speak to this, but we've had several questions about majoring within Pratt and Trinity. If you're in Trinity, can you pursue a major in Pratt and vice versa? Taking classes across the school lines, how would that look?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll invite Ben to help answer this question as well. So for our students who are in Trinity College, they can absolutely cross-register or take classes rather in the Pratt School of Engineering. Just know credential-wise, if you're in Trinity, you can take at most, I believe, and Ben, correct me if I'm wrong, a minor in electrical and computer engineering. That's the only credential you can get from Pratt. But we have so many students who are really interested in the introduction EGR courses, so EGR 101 or EGR 105, based on what's available. On the flip side of that, for students who are in the Pratt School of Engineering, they are able to get credentials in Trinity College. And so there are options for double majoring as well as minoring across the schools. This is something we really encourage students to talk to their respective college advisors, 360 coaches, academic deans around, because we just want to ensure that you are picking courses and academic pathways that are really authentic to your interests and your areas of study. And so while the opportunities definitely exist, that is something we really encourage conversations with your advisors around, just to make sure that you're appropriately set up to take those courses with success.
Yes. Yeah, so if you have one of the engineering majors, you're going to get a Bachelor of Science in Engineering from Duke, and you're considered a Pratt student. So your first major would be your engineering major. We have a few students that double major within engineering, but most of our students that double major are double majoring with a major in Trinity. Computer science is very popular, as is math and physics and other kind of engineering adjacent majors. And there are, we have the ECE minor is the most commonly kind of achieved major, a minor by Trinity student, but we do have a energy minor. We have a machine learning and AI minor within the ECE department. We also have an architecture certificate, an aerospace certificate, but we haven't had that many Trinity majors get those certificates because the courses required for those certificates require other Pratt student courses. So for a student not a non-engineering student to achieve one of those certificates, they have to take a bunch of classes within the major, which makes the certificate hard to achieve for a non-engineering student, even though it's open to Trinity students.
Okay, great. And along the lines of, because you both mentioned majors, minors, certificates, there's been some questions about, can you, if you know, or you think, I shouldn't say no, because we want students to come to Duke with an open mind, but if you think that you might want to get a major, a minor, and a certificate, is it something that you recommend that the students start taking some classes in those departments that they're interested in right away? Or will they have the time kind of later on and just focus on these freshman year Constellation focus programs for the beginning?
Yeah, I can take a first stab at this. So there, as it stands, there is no Trinity major that you need to start in your first year, let alone your first semester. Trinity College truly embraces the liberal arts. And so you have the opportunity to wait until, again, that point of major declaration, which is your spring break of your sophomore year, to really dive into that major. That said, we don't want you to go into it blind, right? Like, we want you to explore. We want you to try things. We want you to ensure that you, if you will, kick the tires on what you're planning to pursue. So in your first year, you will have the opportunity to explore the classes of interest to ensure that the major, the minor, the certificate, whatever you choose, is authentic to you again and into what you're interested in learning. So just know that you have the opportunity to explore before you have to pick what you do. And so again, I'm going to hone in on what I said earlier. When you come into Trinity College and into Pratt, you are undeclared. You may feel like, yes, I'm going to be that BME major, because that's definitely me when I came into Duke. You might feel like, yes, I'm that economics CS double major. I am XYZ, but you are actually none of those things, because we are Duke University and we want you to explore. So just know that, yes, we want you to have an appetite for an area of exploration. We really encourage you to look at those classes in the areas of interest. But again, there's nothing you have to start in your first semester. But if you have an idea of what really interests you, we definitely want you to explore that. Just also know, in the way that you explore the Trinity Liberal Arts curriculum, let's say you decide to take a class in, I'm really picking on classics today. Let's say history. Let me pick something else. And you're like, yes, I'm going to be a history major. That is my thing. You take a class in history and you're like, whoops, that's not actually what I want to take. Just know that's totally okay, because typically what happens is some of the courses that you take for an intended major will eventually count towards your liberal arts categories that you'll need to fulfill through the nature of our liberal arts experience at Duke. So this is something I really emphasize with our students, that there are no quote unquote wasted classes at Duke. There are no unexplored classes at Duke. Everything counts towards something. And so I really, really encourage students to try all the things, and you have the opportunity and the time to really hone in and decide what is important to you. And again, that's sophomore years in this, for Trinity College, it's a sophomore year in the second semester, and the same parallel to Pratt, where you do declare at the end of your first year. And so for our students who are trying to decide, am I going to be a mechanical engineer? Am I going to be an ECE? You have that time to refine and decide what's important to you before you decide, this is the pathway that I want to pursue.
Great. Thank you so much. And I will just do a quick follow-up, and just to note for students wondering this, we know, at least from an admission standpoint, that you did indicate on your application some areas of interest. And, you may have listed up to 3 of them, but we are a little bit different from some institutions in that we didn't admit you by major. So as Madhavi said, whatever you put down on there, you are not locked into that. So you're coming into Duke as a brand new student, and you'll declare that major in Pratt or Trinity, depending upon which one you're in and within their timeline. One other thing, Madhavi, is we've been getting a few questions about when students will know about their advisors, sort of who their advisor is going to be for that first year. When will they get that information? When will that sort of first point of contact be? And then there's been a couple of follow-up questions about AP credits, and sort of, is that something that the advisors work with them to kind of figure out? Is that dependent upon what they choose to major in? So maybe you could speak to that, and perhaps maybe Ben could as well.
Yeah, I'm happy to start, and then Ben, please definitely chime in. And so once you matriculate to Duke, so again, we're excited that you've been admitted to Duke. We know you're making some really excellent choices. We really hope that we are the excellent choice in all of this. But just know you matriculate to Duke, or rather you tell us you're coming by May 1st. And then over the month of May, we start to get information about you and deciding how to assign you to your advisor. So specifically for Trinity College, once you matriculate and once you find out your housing assignments, we make advisor assignments based off of that. And so you will find out who your college advisor is by Monday, July 7th. Hopefully we can hold fast and true to that date. Behind the scenes in that, what we look at is, and this is a conversation you'll hear a lot about through various other webinars, also through the website, if you've heard about the QuadX initiative, where we have a very strong living, learning, residential experience that has embedded components throughout your Duke experience. And one of it, again, in Trinity College, we try to make advisor assignments off of that. And so you should hear from your college advisor by July 7th. And that individual will be with you from that moment through major declaration to help you again to figure out what classes do I register for? What do I need to keep in mind with the Trinity liberal arts categories? What do I figure out for co-curricular opportunities and so much more? And so in those conversations with your college advisor, again, with the assignments being in early to mid-July, your AP scores should hopefully be in the hands of Duke University at that point. So again, this is a plug to ensure that you send your AP scores to Duke so that it then informs the advising experiences from there. And so hopefully I answered all those nuances with when you get your major your advisor assignments as well as AP scores. I will queue up for Ben, because he mentioned this in his piece as well, that over the summer, Pratt students will be advised by their academic deans. And so again, Pratt students will start hearing from their deans in the early summer for advisement onward. So Ben, I'll turn it to you so you can share a little bit more about like what that advising looked like, as well as how AP scores play into that.
So we, the three academic deans, meet with all the incoming Pratt students over the summer, and we start reaching out to you in June. And we've kind of shifted. We used to kind of do all the academic orientation during orientation week, and we've kind of shifted that out of the orientation week and into the summer before registration, so that we can give you more information earlier and help you kind of find the information or make informed decisions about the classes you take. A lot of the Pratt first year courses are very similar across majors. In fact, the fall semester is, the same set of courses. And AP scores and math and different and sciences may affect the courses you take, depending on kind of your intended major. And we kind of help you figure that out over the summer. And we also have a webinar like this one with more specific details about the first year curriculum, what to register for, decision trees, and different kinds of information. But then we also, every student, yes, we can give advice in general, but then we also like to give one-on-one advice, because each student has a different set of questions or a different set of interests. And that also allows us to start getting to know you. We don't assign faculty advisors, because we assign them based on your section of Engineering 101. We do not assign them over the summer. We assign them early in the fall semester. But the Engineering Student Government, partnered with the Society of Women Engineers, has offered Zoom advising for students in the summer around registration, because some of the questions that students have about registration or classes or professors are better answered by other students. So we also encourage students to use that as a resource. And then during the orientation week, that's a really kind of time to make friends, get to know the Duke campus, or we treat that as a time to kind of socially orient yourself at Duke, and try to not give you too much academic information during that week. That's also hard to digest at the same time.
Okay, great. I also just want to note, I'm seeing a lot of questions that are pretty specific about the first year focus program. I do just want to note, questions about getting into your top choice. What's the application like? The likelihood that you'll get in? Are you guaranteed to get one of your top 4 choices? And I do just want to remind everybody that we are going to have a specific webinar on focus itself, which is on April 10th. That's on Thursday. You will be able to, and we will have folks that will be able to answer a little bit more of those specific questions at that time. We do also have our past virtual focus information sessions on our Discover Duke YouTube channel. So if you're dying to know some answers to those questions before Thursday, or you can't join on Thursday, you will be able to find those there. And that program on Thursday will also be recorded and available on our YouTube channel in a few days after that. So with that, I do have another one for you, Dean Reisinger, about the constellation. So folks wondering if there's a place to kind of explore the classes that are offered in a constellation theme, or if you could maybe give some examples of classes and how they sort of relate to a theme as students are making this decision about applying to constellations versus focus, or choosing, I guess I should say, constellations versus focus.
That's such a great question. Thank you so much. So the focus clusters are currently on the website. You all can peruse those and you're welcome to apply. Constellations clusters are also there, the names of them and the descriptions of each of the cohorts of courses that are kind of clustered together. And then we will be listing the actual courses in the next couple weeks. So you've got plenty of time to make a decision before the focus application, which is at the end of May, it's due then, and then plenty of time to select your choices of constellations if you decide to go that way. In terms of the options, as you'll see if you look at the website, there are a number of constellations. I think there are 20 focus clusters and 16 constellations, so lots and lots of choice for first years. One of the examples I could give is a constellation where we're thinking about the question, how do humans understand life, death, and the in-between? So a very broad question. And the courses span writing. There's a course in ethics on perspectives on the experience of illness. There's a course in the Italian department on being human. There's a course in biology on the biology of aging in humans. There's a course in chemistry on therapeutic molecules, one in classics on the archaeology of death, and so on. So you can see that there's a really wide perspectives being represented in the courses. So a student in a constellation will have between 6 and 12 courses to choose from, whereas the focus is a bit more narrow because we're looking at cohorts of about 36 students, whereas the constellations will go up to about 75 students as a whole.
Okay, wonderful. Let me just take a quick look here. What about we got a question about the writing. Do students have the ability to choose when to take that? Because I believe in the beginning you had noted that they would take that writing course either in the fall or the spring semester.
We do place students. Yeah. We do place students into the Writing 120 course. Yeah, in either the fall or the spring. And same with Pratt. Most Pratt students take Writing 120 in the spring, almost all of them. Most Trinity students will take them in the fall, but there's a little bit of wiggle room there.
But within that semester, you get to choose which writing course you take. Like, we don't place you into a specific writing course. We just place you into a semester that you take the writing.
Okay, great. And can you talk a little bit more, Dean Reisinger, is there anything more to add about the sort of liberal arts requirements within Trinity?
Yes, I'm happy to do that. So unlike our current curriculum, which is a bit of a matrix, we have just 6 different buckets, so divisional breakdowns where students take 2 in each of those areas, 2 in the arts, 2 in the humanities, 2 in the social sciences, 2 more in like sort of history spaces, 2 in the natural sciences, and 2 in the quantitative sciences. Starting in fall 2026, we'll have what's called century courses, which are new courses designed to introduce students to a field. And that is a way for students to be able to take one single course in one of those buckets. I don't want to get too in the weeds on this, but let's just say that's coming for fall 2026, and all incoming students will be able to experience those courses. So very simplified curriculum compared to what we have now, just 12 courses towards the curriculum.
And if I may add from an advising dimension about those liberal arts categories, because a lot of students are like, oh my gosh, do I need to do that all in my first year or my second year? They definitely don't. They have the opportunity to span those courses across all 4 years. And so students have the opportunity to do both the breadth of opportunities as well as the depth of opportunities. So they have the 4 years within Trinity College to do so.
Wonderful. Great. And there's been a couple questions. This one I think is probably best for you, Ben. There's been some questions about research within Pratt, a specific one about like a computer science major doing research within Pratt, but maybe you could sort of just talk about research a little bit more broadly within Pratt.
Yeah, so definitely it's possible for Pratt students to do research in Trinity and Trinity students to do research in Pratt. A lot of our computer science and ECE faculty have dual appointments. So if you are a computer science major, like within both ECE and computer science, so if you're doing research with someone with dual appointments and you want to do an independent study that counts towards your major, you can work with your professor to kind of get the right type of independent study. But also, like, a student who's not computer science could choose to do some Pratt research, or a lot of our Pratt students do research in biology or the medical center. A lot of our students do research in the medical center that's not really tied into any particular undergraduate department. And so, yes, it's definitely possible. There was a question earlier about transferring back and forth between Trinity and Pratt. We do have students reach out to us the summer before they get here that they want to transfer into engineering or out of engineering. And we contact students. We have a process for getting students into engineering classes in the fall so that they can get started with the engineering curriculum if they want to kind of transfer into Pratt. And especially students who are in the ECE or double majoring in ECE and computer science, they often are deciding what else do they want out of their educational experience. Do they want more of a flexible liberal arts experience in Trinity? Do they want to go deeper into the sciences and take more math and science in Pratt? And that's a pretty common question that computer science and ECE majors ask themselves, I think, in the first year or two. And so we try to encourage students to follow what they're excited about. Like, we don't want students sticking in Pratt if they're not excited about the courses they're going to take. And we want to allow students to come into Pratt if they are excited about the Pratt courses. The only requirement that we have for students to transfer in or out of Pratt is to have a meeting with an academic dean of Pratt if you're coming in, or have a meeting with a Trinity advisor if you're moving into Trinity. And for Pratt, we require students to take one engineering course before they transfer into Pratt, so that they don't transfer in and then take an engineering course and transfer right back out again. So we want them to have that experience. Yeah.
Okay, great. I appreciate that. And then I guess as it's a bit of a follow-up question, Madhavi, I think you might be the best one to answer this, but I'll leave it to you all. But you just talked a lot about research, which we had gotten a lot of questions about that. But how about students who are not necessarily STEM majors? Wondering if there are still opportunities to sort of take their academic studies from the class and apply them through extracurriculars in the similar way that a STEM student or a bio, might take theirs outside the classroom by doing research. Could you maybe talk about some of the examples that we have at Duke of ways students can do that? More humanities students.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll actually start to say, like, I would push on this idea about research being just like a wet lab experience, if you will. Like, students who are in the liberal arts or outside of the STEM field can really explore research in the ways that are meaningful to them. So I always hold up my husband, who is a Duke alum, who's an English major, English Chem double major, actually. But for his English major, did research, and he did a lot of archival research in Duke libraries as his focus on a senior thesis around Beowulf and Bilbo Baggins. And so again, I just want to say, like, the idea of pipetting, wet lab research, research is not necessarily confined to that dimension. There's a lot of things that you could go into the archival work in libraries. There's a lot of things that you can go out into the world in archaeological studies. There's so many things that is beyond the lab experience. So I would say for a student who's really interested in research, there's so many things out there for them. But let's say research isn't their thing, but they really want to expand their in-class learning extensively. There are opportunities in Study Away, both globally in other countries, as well as globally in local cities, such as we are here in Durham, Raleigh, North Carolina. There's stuff in Atlanta, for example, that's a really global city. DC is a global city, so on and so forth. So there's a lot of opportunities there. Students are really interested also in public service and in community engagement. So there's a lot of ways to expand their in-class learning outside of that. So again, if a student is really trying, and internships, I forgot to mention that altogether, where they want to really figure out how do they apply the learnings in the classroom to skills in opportunities post-Duke. That's a really engaging way to do so. So again, as we think about how do you really apply your learning outside the classroom, there's so many options. And again, as I mapped out all the resources that exist here at Duke around that, there are people you can engage and talk with to really figure out what is authentic and meaningful to you around that.
Madhavi, may I just add something?
Please.
I really appreciate your kind of solidifying this piece about like research not just being in wet labs. There's so much that can be done in the humanities and the arts, and that is being done that we actually didn't even notice was happening because we think of research sometimes in such a narrow way. Our faculty are doing a lot of directly mentored research with our undergraduates. Some of that just takes place in a different time of the year. A lot of the humanities students do this as an honors thesis project or as an ethnography throughout the academic year. They aren't necessarily going to a lab in the summer, but they might be going to another country to do research. I had a student actually doing research on the response of soccer politics in France during the some of the global events going on. So all kinds of different research that we see, which is really exciting. And we're looking also to develop internships in these fields as well for students, because those can be a little bit more difficult to find and not as obvious. So it is an area that I think where Duke stands out. We are really, really strong in the arts and humanities. And I think STEM gets a lot of the press and a lot of the excitement because we have excellent programs there as well. But there's a lot happening in the arts and humanities right now.
That's great. Thank you so much. So we just have a couple more minutes together here. So I thought I would just ask one final question that maybe each of you could answer for our audience tonight. And that would be if you could sort of sum up maybe one thing that you find compelling about Duke academics. Sort of how is what we do here at Duke different or perhaps more engaging compared to other institutions? I don't know who'd like to start. Dean Reisinger, do you want to start with that?
Yes, I'll start with our faculty because I'm working with them very closely right now as we roll out this new curriculum. And I have been so delighted to see the level of engagement of our faculty. And we have faculty who've been here for 30 years, some who've been here for 5 years, and everything in between. And they are really excited to learn new pedagogies. Many of them are already engaged in project-based learning and low-stakes assessments. They're really on the cutting edge, and it's something that we value very much at Duke. We want our faculty to be number one in research, but we also value teaching a lot, and this is part of their packages when they have to come up for tenure. We look at their teaching really, really closely. I monitor their teaching really closely, and we look to see how their student evaluations are. So this is a place where we shine. Our faculty are in the classroom. They're with students outside of the classroom. I mentioned Flunch. So the level of engagement, I think, is particularly strong here at Duke. I don't see this at other institutions.
Yeah, I can talk a bit about I think one thing that's exciting to see is when we see faculty or we talk to faculty about their courses and like what they can do new. We have a lot of, we've worked closely with math and physics to work on the engineering curriculum and work on the math courses that engineering students take and the physics courses. And, those departments are eager to make their courses better and try new things and make sure that they like working with engineering students, and they want to do the best job they can at teaching physics. And so we recently did a pilot of teaching electricity and magnetism with multivariable calculus in the same semester. And the faculty could have said, oh no, I'm just going to teach it the way I've taught it for 10 years, right? But instead they said, no, if we can incorporate these ideas from math into our physics class, like it'll be a stronger physics course. And so, and within our departments, within biomedical engineering, we have a new core course in data science. And, the faculty have recognized that a lot of the, the protein research, the research on genomics and other aspects of BME have become a lot more computational. So they've created a new path for students to, build those skills within the biomedical engineering major. So I think seeing how the faculty make changes and go out of their way to improve the student experience is something that that's exciting to watch and see at Duke. I only work at Duke, so it's hard for me to know what other schools do. But I mean, I think that's a compelling thing when you see faculty that want to improve the experience of the students at Duke.
And I'll just end to say, as a Duke undergraduate alum who's worked at other places and then come back to Duke, but again, with the Pratt undergraduate experience and now working with Trinity students, because Deb and Ben really spoke about how wonderful our faculty are, I'll just emphasize how amazing our students are when it comes to the academics, right? Just simply because y'all who are interested in Duke and our current students here at Duke, they have an appetite to be just so curious about the world around them and really interrogate big questions and try to figure out, who am I in this world and how do I give back to the world, be it in whatever discipline that they are, and to be in the classroom with fellow students who are trying to figure out this very question. It really enhances the academic experiences for everyone engaged. So be it the faculty, be it the students, be it the ecosystem that is Duke, it is just a uniquely beautiful and a really amazing place to be a part of.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I couldn't agree more that the community really is the best part about Duke, and it's very unique. So I just want to thank you all, audience, so much for taking the time to join us this evening. Another huge thank you to our panelists, as well as my team sort of behind the scenes that helped to organize and launch such an informative program. We hope that you all found this information helpful as you are moving through your college decision process. Again, just a reminder that you will be able to find this recording on our Discover Duke YouTube page. And with that, we also encourage you to actually follow us on all of our social media platforms. Hopefully, we will see some of you again at our other virtual programs happening throughout the next week and a half, or at one of our upcoming Blue Devil student days here on campus. And most importantly, we hope to see as many of you as possible as members of the Duke class of 2029 next fall. So thank you so much for joining us, and we hope you all have a great rest of your day.